Well, that would have been a bit of a pasting, weren't it? I'm not too down about that, to be honest with you. A game I didn't expect us to get out from. What a run they've been on. 18 games undefeated before yesterday. Scoring goals, playing good football. I'm not depressed about that. In fact, beginning of the season, I wouldn't have been depressed about that because that game and probably Leicester away, Leeds away, I sort of compartmentalise them, you know what I mean? Before the season's kicked off, when people can say that's a negative way of looking at it, but I don't care really. So them games away, Southampton at St Mary's, Elland Road, Leicester, Filbert Street, whatever they bloody call it now. Look at them games, probably not going to get out there, that's that block. Then it's middle block, let's beat these teams at home and see if we can nick a point away, and then these other block of teams, I think we can beat these home and away, so I'm not too down about that. I didn't really expect us to get out from Southampton. Obviously it's upsetting that it's a pasting, but that's football, you get pastings now and again, Probably best Wednesday side I've ever seen in my entire life. And I mean best side I've ever seen in my entire life. A team that on its day could have taken on any giants of European football and give them a game, I've seen them spank 6-1 at home. Seen them spank 7-2, 7-1 away, Now and again you get spanked, and we got a bit of a spanking against Southampton, and it happened. I'm not down about it because I didn't expect us to get out there anyway. And if anything, it just highlights the situation we're in and what a gulf there is in this division. Look at it last season, they were in Premier League, and whichever way you dress it up, we were in third division. And not a lot has changed. There's a reason why they were 30 odd places above us in sort of league standings. And we saw that yesterday. Quality team, the quality players throughout it. Should we really talk about game? Well, we made a couple of changes to line up, surprising ones. Perhaps most surprising that two new lads didn't come in. We've got these two loan lads in. We've got Beadle in. I'm not going to make the joke. We've got Beadle in net and Ugbo at centre forward. I think he'll play at centre forward when he does get a game. They weren't chucked in. I was surprised with the goalkeeper one more than the centre forward one. Obviously they've not probably had time to have any training with lads, or if they have, very minimal, and it might be that they need building up to speed. I think the striker hasn't played much recently. More surprised that Beadle didn't start, because if you're calling a keeper back from a loan spell to send him out on another loan spell, I think as parent club you are expecting him to go there and play games, and I think he will do. I suspect there's a couple of things that's been in his thinking here. First, he don't really know lads. He's got to get used to lads and the way that Danny wants to play. Secondly, it's away against a team that, for me, has got a very good chance of winning the title. It's a bit of a, bit of a debut to be avoided in that sense, I think. And of course, Dawson played really well in week, so combination of all them events, I think that's why Beadle probably not started. But as I said, there were a couple of surprises. Bernard in midfield for one. Dawson in goal. Back four, Palmer, Diaby, Ehekwe and Johnson. The surprise in midfield, Bernard moving in there with Barry Bannon, Gassama, Masaba and Windass supporting Bailey Cadamartri. It was a bit of a surprise, and I'm wondering what the circumstances were with him being put in there. And there's a few sort of thoughts that go through your head when you're thinking about a change like that. I mean, I'm sure Danny probably thought he could do a job, that's first thing. And out of any of our defenders, possibly after Palmer, I think you've got to say that Bernard is the best one at using ball, he's most comfortable in possession. So if you're going to risk putting one of the defenders in midfield, Bernard would be a pick out at 3 or 4, before you'd pick a Hekwe in there or Bambo. So understandable that if you're going to risk sticking one in there as an experiment, he's the one you'd pick. But why do it? Why do it today? Well, there's a couple of things. Perhaps he's looking ahead at, we've got Birmingham, we've got Coventry, Huddersfield, big games. Maybe he's looking at them and he's thinking, Momo Diaby's just been out for a long time, long spell out injured. And when you come back from an injury like that, you can have all training in the world. It's not the same as football, and he's had a couple of games in quick succession. He's got through them unscathed, but when you've been out a long time, I sometimes think it's games 3 and 4, or 4 and 5, when you risk getting that injury, picking up a strain, not always related to the injury you had before, but maybe something else pulls when you've been out that long. Because first couple of games, I think you get through on adrenaline when you've been out a long time, so they're probably mindful of that. Let's not push him too far too soon. And like I said, especially with Huddersfield, I'm sure they'll have a big part to play in that, and then Birmingham after that, so maybe that were part of thinking, give Momo a bit of a breather, chance to assess him. Obviously, the alternative to that is that you could put Will Volks in there, which would be the common sense thing to do, I think. December, he was my player at month. I thought he was really good. But again, we don't know, he might have been carrying a bit of a twinge, something like that. And again, maybe he's got one eye on them Huddersfield game, and Birmingham or whatever. The third option, and I hope it's not this, is that apparently he's very stats driven, and we hear this talk about people hitting numbers in training and what have you, and that's fair enough, that's the way he does it. But I hope this isn't a case of, Hekwe, Bernard and Bambo have all hitting the numbers in training, so I want to pick all three of them, but I don't want to play a back three, so I'll play one of them in midfield. I hope it's not that. I hope it's one of those other reasons. He's made the decision now, so it doesn't really matter what the reasons were. That's one way of looking at it. But for me, I want the reasons to have been for the right reason, if that makes sense to you. If it's just about numbers, and he's just chucked him in there to get his best players in, if you see what I mean, I don't like that avenue. That'd remind me a bit of Sven when he was England manager. These are 11 best players in country. Let's show on them all in team, and that should be good enough. Was really, we all looked at that and went, well, actually, Sven, why don't you drop one at big names and bring somebody in who gives us a better balance, even if they might be tier just below. Do you know what I mean? Like we saw Scholes shunted out on left, complete bloody waste of a terrific player. So, bad news about old Sven and all in it, by the way. Disagreed with a lot of his tactics, but that's terrible news for the lad. But yeah, so Danny Roll put Bernard in there as an experiment. Did it work? Well, no. Was it ever likely to work? Well, if it was, it probably weren't going to be in this fixture, A Southampton team on a terrific run of form. There's a school of thought, isn't there? Why try it in this game? But why not try it in another game against a team where it might actually work? Well, I actually think flip of that. Well, we're probably never going to win this game anyway, so this is exactly the game to try it in. You don't want your manager, I've got a little experiment, I'll try it against Huddersfield in that massive 6-pointer. Do you know what I mean? They're games you don't want to risk little experiments in, so if he was going to try it, I think Southampton would game to try it in. God, I am rambling on today, aren't I? The game. Well, from minute one it were theirs. As I said, I'm not too down about it because I didn't expect us to go and get out from there. And like I said to you before, at the start of the season, when I'm looking through fixture lists, there's little clusters of teams. Probably won't get out there. Might get something there. Should get something there. And that's how I look at it. Little sort of blocks of games, if you know what I mean. Not based on league table, but the club and the players that they've got. And this were one of them. So I weren't expecting us to get out. I was a little bit surprised that we sort of went out toe-to-toe with them first half and looked like we might try and give it a go. I thought that, combined with the experiment with Bernard, left us a bit exposed. And these are a terrific side. When we played them earlier in the season, there was that stat, where they'd made 4.5 billion passes to our 10 or whatever it was. But I said then, if they click, they'll cause teams a lot of problems, and they clearly have clicked. When we played them at Hillsborough, they were making all them passes, dominating ball, but it would almost like they'd rather make a pass than have a shot. But that's changed, that's been honed, hasn't it? That's been finely tuned, and they were firing shots in yesterday. The only disappointment I've got, we've got a spanking, and as I said, you get spanked now and again. I've seen a Wednesday side with a spine of internationals straight down middle, international keeper, international centre half, two international centre midfielders, international centre forward. I've seen them get spanked by 7. So it does happen. But where I'm disappointed is, for all that they dominated us, Southampton, and they did, there's no qualms here, they dominated us from minute 1. A couple of the goals are real gifts, and that's, whether it's a spanking or not, that's always disappointing. The first goal, I don't know what Bambo's trying to do there. Can he just leather his foot through it? Can he? I don't know what he's trying to do. And great little body turn by Adams, by the way, before it finished. That lovely bit of centre forward playing a nice finish, but disappointed with that. The fourth goal is a gift again. We give it away cheap. But from minute 1, you were like, yeah. I mean, before kick-off, you thought this is a game we're probably not going to win. As soon as game started, you were like, it's definitely a game we're not going to win. But I'm not too down about that. As I said, these aren't the games that'll define our season and what we do. I'd rather lose this game than lose Huddersfield game that we've got on the horizon, the Birmingham game we've got on the horizon. We were quite open. It's just quality of players at the end of the day. Quality. I mean, they've got a good manager who's got his methods across, but like I said right at the beginning, these were in Premier League last season, and I know they've sold a lot of players, but they've retained a lot of players, and they've been able to reinvest in quality players. And they're right back, that Walker Peters, absolute quality. He's far too good for this division. I'm surprised they've kept hold of him. As soon as they went down, I'm sure vultures were circling, because what a player he is. Best as a modern fullback, he's got everything you want. And I said this in game at Hillsborough beginning of the season. Driving into that midfield, and as he was in that game, and making an extra man, and he was allowing Ward-Prowse to get forward in joint attack. Well, he's done that again. But he's also gone on overlap on outside. He's come on inside on a sort of underlap, if you like. Absolute quality. He's everything you want in a modern fullback. Terrific player. And as I said, he's playing in Championship. There's a lad who's had caps for England, and you can see why. But lad on the other side, Manning, another one, absolute quality. And it's right through the team. They've got Adams up front, experienced player, scored goals, international. Small ball in middle, another really good player. And we know all about keeper. He went on loan in our division over here. But they got a kid at Middle Park, Downs, and I didn't know about him. I thought, where's he come from? I don't know him. Might have heard of him. So then I have a look. He came other way. Ward-Prowse deal as a bit of a softener, a bit of a make weight. A make weight. Another quality footballer, really good player. And that's the thing. Our team, we've had 1 or 2 additions, but essentially, the core of it, that's a team that were playing in 3rd division last season. So I think we've got to be realistic about it. I'm not losing 4-0 down at St Mary's is not a game where I'm going to chuck dummy out and Wednesday it's shy. It's not good enough, because in big scheme of things, like I said, these aren't the games. Disappointing, the manner of a couple of goals, of course. And along that vibe, for me, it's going forward, it's got to be Ihekwe in there with Bernard at centre back. Bernard's really good on the ball. He's got quality. Belongs to us, albeit on a 1 year. And Ihekwe's your old school head, kick, tackle, a proper defender. So for me, it's got to be them two for the rest of the season. If we're playing a back 4, if they're playing a 3, okay, bring Bambo in. And I've got no against Bambo, and in fact, before he got sent off other week, I think he just put in his 3 best performances for Wednesday. But even then, there's always, and some players have that thing, there's always that thing where you're watching and you think he's got a rick in him here somewhere. It can be 89 brilliant minutes, but there's a rick in there. And 2 goals yesterday, I'm afraid. I like the lad and he seems like a good personality, but you've got to say, he's played a massive part in them scoring them 2 goals. So for me, going forward, I hate that phrase. It reminds me of an old gaffer I had. But yeah, going forward, a Heckway, Bernard, centre half, got to be. Masaba, Windass. Windass had a good free kick in the second half. But we spent a lot of time chasing shadows, like you're going to in a game like this. And like I said, I think that's why Malmo had been left out. They knew there were going to be a lot of chasing today, and you don't want to push a kid who's been out that long. And for him, obviously stretch something, to tweak something. But hell of a lot of work to get through in there. Bannon worked his socks off. I thought Wednesday's best player on the day, probably Gassama. As I said before, he does get you up team, and he buys a bit of respite for your back four when you're being pummeled, and we were getting pummeled, let's be honest. Somebody like him who drives you up pitch and gives you a chance to just squeeze that line out. He brings a bit of respite. But also, I thought they were actually quite scared of him. There were a few moments where he got ball, he's beat a man, he's come in and run at him, and that does scare defenders, no matter whether they're top team in division or not. An explosive player like that can worry you, concern you. So I thought he was probably Wednesday's best threat. That said, there is a little side to him I'm not so keen on, which is what my grandmother would call histrionics. Gio with histrionics. She said to us when we were kids, Gio with histrionics. And there's a little bit of that, sometimes when he gets a kick, and you're going to get kicked in this level of football, sometimes when he gets a kick a little bit, arms are up and you're not allowed to say man up these days, are you? But a little bit of it, I think, yeah, you've got to man up. You've got to, if it's a little nudge, keep going. If you can keep going and get your shot away. If it's not strong enough to knock you over, get past him, get your cross in, get your delivery in. And maybe it's a cultural thing, I don't know. Well, not cultural thing. I'm not saying it just because he's coming from France. Maybe a generational thing might be a better way to describe it. There is this thing of, sort of the week when Wednesday had a penalty shout when player can still get shot away. Get the shot away. And if it is a foul, ref might bring it back anyway. But maybe that's just me and modern game. But yeah, other than that, I thought he would have best. He'd been my man of the match from a Wednesday point of view. But to be honest with you, after they'd scored first goal and I knew it was dead, I just sort of sat back then and relaxed about it because there's no point getting stressed in a game you're not going to win. We weren't going to win before they scored. As soon as they scored, you knew that was game over, really. To an extent, I tried to enjoy it for what it were, and like I said, that Walker Peters for them, absolute quality. They got Armstrong on the right hand side. He seems to have been around forever, doesn't he? He's only 26. He tested Dawson with a couple of shots there. He's made strong hands to them, but I still think he'll be out at team for next game. Managers don't sign goalkeepers to not play them. It just doesn't happen. If a manager brings a keeper in, he's bringing him in to start. Very rare. Oh yeah, I could do your number 2. It's always I can do your number 1. So I'd expect Beadle will probably be in next game, whatever happens. Although I won't blame Dawson for any goals yesterday. 2 of them absolute tappings, aren't they? We've just got ripped apart. They've got in round sides. We did defend very narrow until we went to a back 5, probably half an hour to go, whatever. But it's that thing, innit? If they can cut you up and through middle. The full-backs are capable of going into midfield and making an extra man and playing little 1-2s in there and making it hard for you. But then they can pop it out wide and get in outside. Very hard for Wednesday. Perhaps he could have gone way back 5 to start with. I'd have been half tempted to do that for me. Maybe a 5-4-1 or whatever. But and I've seen a few think, he's been naive. And I talked about this myself other week. I don't know if it was it Cardiff game? He made some very attacking subs where you were like, hang on, let's just keep it tight here. But I think that's his mentality. I think he's one of them, no, we're going to go for it. We're going to go for it every week, you know, and sometimes we'll win and sometimes we'll lose. And like I said, I was surprised he went toe-to-toe with him from off. But that's his mentality, and I think to me, saying, would he do that if it was a 55-year-old Danny Rule or a 60-year-old Danny Rule? Will he have changed by then and gone, you know what, we'll sit in here, we'll grind it out? With experience, will that change his thinking a little bit? I'm not so sure it will, to be honest with you. I could see him making the same decisions in 10 years' time. I think that's just the way he's wired. You know, let's go out, let's try and score some goals, let's go out and try and close down on front foot. And there's nothing wrong with that, to be honest with you. I think the only issue with that maybe is, I don't want to say overlooked, but the quality of opposition. You know, if you're squeezing and you're playing a team who can really zip ball about 2 or 3 passes right through the middle of you're dead and buried. So, and that's the thing, when you're squeezing and pressing teams all the time, it's a chain, isn't it? It's a chain reaction. He goes, I drop off, he goes, he sits in. It's a chain reaction through the team of, you know, and little triggers they call them, don't they? But you only need one weak link in chain. You only need 2 to go and squeeze some, and third man done, and they've got an easy out ball, and then it's back in behind 2 that's gone forward, and you know, you can be cut apart. So I don't want to say it's naivety. I think perhaps a more experienced manager might have done it different, but you're still not guaranteed to get out, are you? You know, in fact, if you look at Xisco, I'm not putting him down as a marker of a stellar manager there, but if you look at Xisco in reverse fixture, we never left our 18-yard line. We just soaked that up for 90 minutes, and it was a very, very hard watch, and we still lost. You know, Dawson ended up, you know, pulling off a string of saves in that match, you know, because that could have quite easily been 6 or 7 itself, as it were. In the end, I think it was just the one, weren't it? But that could have been 6 or 7. So we've tried both ways of going at it and still lost the fixtures. So, but yeah, I'm not down about it. I'm not going to go into details of it because my match reviews tend to be very long because I like to go through individual bits. But frankly, going through 20 odd shots that they had, I really ain't got the incentive for it. But yeah, good team then. I said at the beginning of the season I thought they'll win the title, and although they'd off it, Leicester's got a decent lead. Although they lost yesterday, although they were down to 10 men, I gather, I still think Southampton will win the league. Good manager, good player. That Walker Peters, I know I keep coming back to him, but what a quality player he is. But, you know, Premier League player. And like I said, I'm not going to chuck dummy out. We've took a bit of a dicking, but this isn't a game that's going to decide our season. And you know, I'd rather we beat Huddersfield, and I'd rather we beat Birmingham, and I'd rather we could nick a point maybe against Coventry than, you know, worry about what we're doing against Southampton. Like I said, compartmentalise these games in blocks of teams. That's how I do it in my head. It stops me getting stressed. You know what I mean? Stops me booting cat and okay, Wednesday, 4-0. You know what I mean? So yeah, big games coming up. Not too worried about this performance. Was Danny a bit naive? Perhaps, but I think that's the way he's going to go at things. I think it's something we've got to get used to. And if he's backed, I mean, he's been backed with these couple of loan signings, Ugbo and young lad in net. But if he's continually backed by owner, and he's allowed to trade players, there'll be some outgoings, I'm sure. There's a few he'll want off books and a few he wants in, and we can gradually improve that squad, improve quality of players, and get in especially players that he wants for the way he wants to play. That's the key thing here. It's no point just getting play. Oh, he's a good player, but does he fit how we play? Well, no, he's very good on ball, but he doesn't run. Do you know what I mean? No use to it. It's got to be players that fit the way he wants to play. And if we do that and we can build it up, there's nothing wrong with his sort of gung-ho, let's get out there and get it teams and close from front and try and get shots away. Nothing wrong with that style. In fact, I preferred it to, I preferred it to what Pulis were doing. I preferred it to what Joss were doing, or Monk, or especially Cisco. Preferred it to that. And I'd rather lose games having a go as a supporter. So, but he's got to be backed in market. Couple of loans. I'm quite excited about the loans. Ugbo, people's pointed at his goals record not being the best, but does that allow for the fact he's probably played on right wing and left wing? I mean, if you've been watching this channel a while, you'll know that I don't like the fact that a lot of players these days have got this generic term for their position: forward, attacker. But what's that mean? I like striker, support man, winger. Where's he play? He's a forward. As it is, I think this lad will play forward. There'll be times I'm sure he has to play wide, but I think he's going to be predominantly brought in to play down middle. Kadamatre, great prospect, good young lad, puts himself about, he's nicked some goals, but again, within a relegation dogfight, and I said it in a video at the beginning of the season, you don't want the expectation of a club of this size and their reliance on scoring goals on a young lad for long stretches of time. I still believe we've got to look after him for his sake as well as club's sake. And if Ugbo can come in and nick a few goals, great stuff. And I'm sure Danny Rule's got one eye on that when he was looking at bringing him in. While we're talking about transfers, I'd like us to bring a left back in. I know a lot of your priority will be striker, ball breaking set midfielder and whatever, because it always is. We always want them, don't we? Every team, every club and fans want that. I'd like us to bring in a specialist left back. I love Marvin Johnson. I don't know why he was omitted at the beginning of the season. Complete lunacy to me. He's come back, he's done a job left side at front three, left side of a midfield three, left full back, and of course Firmino's done a job out there at full back. But with Reece James being sort of written off, I presume he'll be on his way somewhere. I won't be surprised to see him tip up at Huddersfield, to be honest with you. I'd like a proper left back. That this is where I play, this is my job, I know what I'm doing, I tackle, I stop crosses. I'd like one of them in. Probably not top of everyone's priority list, but it'd be quite up on mine, to be honest with you. Anyway, let's have a quick look at table. So there we go. Wednesday, 22 points. Huddersfield on 26. QPR down there, 21 points. They're currently losing 2-1 at Watford. Rotherham, 18. So, huge game against Huddersfield coming up. Birmingham up there on 29 points. We've got them. Obviously, we've got Coventry to come first. But again, that's a game that I'd put down as if you can nick a point. But yeah, Huddersfield, Birmingham, two huge games there, 6-pointers, which could put us on 28 points and really, pull us above that line for the first time. So that games I'm bothered about, not so much bothered about what happens, against Leicester, Southampton and Leeds. So I'm still very positive about it. I think Daniel's come in, he's made changes to the way we play, made changes to the way we attack teams and go about our business. We're now scoring goals. There'll be some more defeats along the way. I dare say there'll probably be another spanking in there somewhere, but that's football. You don't get it all your own way. And as long as we can beat teams in and around us, I still think that we'll be safe come end of the season. I'm not going to let it ruin my weekend, let me put it that way.